Back on Sportsbit, Pauly and Teddy, betting insight today. We go to the play of the day coming up. Well, we had our first bad beat in the NFL season, although the game was canceled. How about all those people that laid pick with the Colts and it went up to 3 when the news came out on Hundley, Teddy?
Yeah, what about the total? I had under 36.5 in my pocket, Paul.
Well, that too, yeah.
I wasn't real happy about that game being canceled. But and the Colts were actually, you could have found the Colts at +1. There was one book that had the Colts +2.5 early on. Canner had them early on, and unfortunately I didn't get that number. All right, I had that in my pocket as well, which didn't matter because it got canceled. But what you're going to see in the preseason all the time, Paul, you're going to see the markets be ahead of the news. All right, all the money went on Indy because the announcement that Brett Hundley was out. But all the money moved before that got out into the mainstream media. Indy, big steam move on Indy because Hundley, I don't know if you know anything about Brett Hundley. He was the best quarterback statistically in the NFL preseason in 2015. The rookie out of UCLA, a guy with some pretty good potential, and a guy who earlier in his college career was being talked about as potential first rounder, pretender number 1 overall. It didn't work out for him. He got hurt in college. He didn't play as well as expected, but he had a great preseason last year. So the money moved before the information fully came out. If you dug around, if you're following Twitter, if you're reading the local papers, you had that news ahead of time. If you're waiting for ESPN to report it, guess what? You're going to be behind throughout the entire preseason. There are going to be sharp folks that are getting information ahead of you. They're going to get the best of the number. You have to do your due diligence, and you can watch the markets move, Paul, and figure out who's playing and who isn't based on those numbers.
So when you see Indy go to 3 and you see the total go from 36.5 to 34, that is smart money, and that is the correct move because the breaking news happens at the betting boards. So you can't go and look to bet against that because you're going to get buried in the preseason if you're doing that.
Well, I'm going to disagree with that. There's definitely money to be made betting against quote-unquote sharp money in the preseason when they're betting on stupid things, all right? You're not going to tell me that even with Hundley out for Green Bay, and even with the fact that some guy named Rodgers wasn't going to suit up, that Indy had anything that they wanted to do in this game other than get out of it unscathed. The Colts didn't care any more than the Packers did, all right? But the markets are going to move on the news, not on the nuance. And we'll talk a lot about this week, next week, the week after, all about the nuance of the preseason, how to understand coach speak, what a coach really means when he says, hey, he looked good last week. He means, guess what? He's not getting the playing time this week. We'll talk about all of that throughout the course of the week, but it's much less about news than it is about nuance. And if you're going to be betting against something, you better be darn sure there's something to be betting on the other side. You're going to be caught in a whole lot of coin flip games. And frankly, betting preseason is not about betting coin flips. It's about betting good information. We'll talk about that as well.
I'm actually disappointed here. We couldn't bet against Joe Callahan. It was going to be Callahan and Williams for the Packers at quarterback.
Well, that's just it. I mean, the one chance we ever had to see Joe Callahan start an NFL game. Of course, he's the undrafted rookie from Wesley College. Here's his quote. He was excited about getting to start the night after Brett Favre's induction into the Hall. He was my favorite player growing up. I tried to play like him when I was a kid. Then getting signed by the Packers and now this whole Hall of Fame game, the year of his induction. It's a pretty cool experience and great to be a part of. Sorry, Callahan. Wasn't so great to be a part of, and not for you. Does he deserve a sportsman a moment of silence? I don't think he does. We are going to hear his name again. We might. Not very much.
Yes. All right. Money time.
Let me jump in with one more thing here because I feel like I didn't give a full answer before. You don't want to be in a hurry to bet against a line move. And we talked about the preseason rule that you don't want to necessarily be stepping in front of this stuff. When the line's trickling, once a move starts in the preseason, it rarely stops. And it definitely doesn't stop until it hits a key number. So you're never in a rush to bet against that line move. The best time to fade a line move in preseason is generally about 5 minutes before kickoff. That's the optimal time to get down. I don't think I made that clear when I talked about this just a moment ago. But when I say never be in a hurry to bet against one, you can bet against line moves all the time in the pre. Especially, hey, guess what? This was a pick'em game. Now I'm +3. I'm all ears. Why? I have no hesitation. But I'm going to wait until that line hits +3 before I get my wager down. I'm not taking it at 2.5. And that's the beauty of the preseason. You just don't get a whole lot of buyback. Once these lines start to move, they tend to keep on moving in that same direction. And when line moves are predictable, they're that much easier to figure out when's the optimal time to get your wager down.
Hey guys, for the full video, go to sbrpicks.com.
Research before you bet. Be sure to check out SBR Picks for the best game predictions, breakdowns, and much, much more.